Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm the psych coach, and today I am going to be talking to you about toxic relationships. More specifically, how you can cope if you find yourself in one and what you can do to potentially get yourself out of it. Toxicity is a word that's become quite popular in recent years, and it's often used to describe something that is chronically unhealthy. Toxic relationships are no different. They are relationships that are chronically unhealthy, and the thing that characterises their lack of health is the fact that you may be left questioning whether your perception of events is accurate. You may be left feeling really bad in that relationship and questioning your self-worth. You may be in a relationship where you find yourself continually walking on eggshells. Those are markers of a lack of health in a relationship. To be specific, they're toxic. And in order for us to be happy in relationships and to flourish and to really be on our A game, we're meant to benefit from the relationships that are around us. What can you do if you find yourself in a toxic relationship? Well, watch and learn. My first tip if you find yourself in a toxic relationship is to confide in somebody. Confide in someone who is within your friendship circle, maybe someone who is within your family, or maybe it would be a professional. By confiding in someone, you're not only sharing the problems that you're experiencing, but you're also going to be able to hold yourself accountable to someone when you make commitments to be more boundaried, when you make a commitment to leave, when you make a commitment to not put up with certain behaviour. Confiding in someone can really ease the emotional intensity that you're experiencing. And it really helps to have someone championing you and someone who's in your corner. If you're in a toxic relationship, then you might feel quite alone and you might be quite reluctant to let anybody in because you don't want them to think badly of your partner. But actually, it's really important that you do find someone to talk to and you share what's going on. Sometimes people find themselves in toxic relationships that aren't with romantic partners. You could be in a toxic relationship with a parent, with a sibling, with a friend. Whoever it is that you're in a toxic relationship with, you need to try and get support from someone outside of that. My second tip for dealing with toxic relationships is to not take responsibility for someone else's emotions. I know that's easy to say, but ultimately we are all in charge of our own emotions. It's simply not true that someone can step into my body, press my angry button and make me angry. I'm responsible if I feel angry. You're responsible if you feel angry. If someone feels frustrated, it is their responsibility. You are not in charge of someone else's emotions. You're not in charge of someone else's happiness. You're not in charge of their anger. You're not in charge of their anxiety. So stop taking responsibility for someone else's emotions. And with that, perhaps you will put slightly less effort in to trying to goad them along in situations, trying to sort of jolly them along, try to make them feel better. Maybe you may tread less carefully if you constantly walk on eggshells. You're not responsible for someone else's emotions. We are all in charge of our own emotions. Stop protecting them from the truth is a really important part of managing toxic relationships. A lot of the time you may find yourself, if you're in an unhealthy relationship, lying to stop the other person from getting angry or not telling the truth because you don't want to upset them. And actually by continually protecting them from the truth, you're causing yourself more stress. It's really stressful trying to cover up the truth the whole time. Maybe you're not being truthful about who your friendship group is, who you're going on holiday with, how you're spending your day, what do you really think about something. And of course, we may not share all our inner thoughts the whole time, but if you're constantly censoring your truth and your reality to try and meet the needs of someone else, that's not an ideal way to live. So stop protecting them from the truth. Now, I'm not saying flat out never ever say anything other than the truth to this person, but if you're finding yourself putting a lot of effort into coming up with lies about things that are pretty standard, reasonable things that you should be doing, stop protecting them. They need to be exposed to the situations that you're in, the situations that you're dealing with, some of your harsher thoughts. And you need to save yourself some effort by thinking about all the lies that you can come up with to protect them. Another tip is to buy yourself time. If you're in a toxic relationship or dealing with someone who's pretty toxic, chances are they know how to push your buttons. They know how to get you really worked up. I don't necessarily mean angry. I could mean upset. I could mean getting pretty anxious. And what you need to do is buy yourself some time. Don't react in the moment. Instead, try and walk away from the situation. Instead, say, I need a few moments to gather my thoughts. Maybe it means ending the phone call if you're on the phone. You need to buy yourself time. Don't react in the moment, because chances are, after your intense feelings have calmed down, you will think of a more eloquent way to deal with that situation that will probably serve you better. So buy yourself time when you find yourself being triggered, when you can feel that emotional arousal kicking off in you. Buy yourself time before you respond. Buying yourself time will mean you can think more rationally about your next steps without just going with what your gut instinct is feeling. Another tip is to not second guess how you're feeling. If you're dealing with someone who is a bit of a master manipulator, or someone who is very good at getting you to question what you're saying and question yourself, then you're potentially being gaslit. And it's very important that you don't question your version of reality. Your version of reality is the one that is at the forefront of your mind, that when you recount a situation or you think about a particular exchange that you've had with that person, that you don't then go back and pick it apart and think, was that right or not? The immediate memory that comes to your mind is highly likely to be your accurate recollection of that event. So try not to be pulled into picking that situation apart, questioning your version of reality, thinking about whether you were right or wrong to have said what you did. Whatever your experience is in that situation, however you reacted, is not to be rewritten in history with someone suggesting you should think otherwise about it. Maybe you can look back and you think, well, maybe I should have responded slightly differently, or maybe I could have worded that slightly better. But that's very different to second guessing yourself and picking apart your experience of reality and questioning whether you've remembered something accurately. Don't question your version of reality. Don't give in to someone introducing an element of doubt and then you running with it. Often we will be pretty certain about something we've experienced until an element of doubt is introduced. Are you sure that's what you experienced? Or do you think you could be wrong there? And often as soon as that element of doubt is introduced, we end up questioning ourselves. So hold on to your initial memory or experience of the situation and work from the basis that that is highly likely to be the most accurate. And my final point is to extract yourself from the situation. It's not always possible if you're dealing with a partner to extract yourself immediately. Neither is it possible if you're dealing with family members or even friendships or work colleagues. But you do need to think carefully about how you can extract yourself from a situation. Spending time dealing with someone who is pretty toxic and with whom you have a toxic relationship is not going to be good for you. It's going to be really emotionally draining. It's probably not going to be good for your confidence, and it's probably going to leave you feeling pretty exhausted. So you need to put time and effort into thinking about how you can either extract yourself from that relationship, or at the very best, how you can start to reduce your time with that person. It also means being boundaried with them and saying no sometimes and pushing back on things that they may want you to do that you don't want to do. Invest time in how you can extract yourself from that situation, and perhaps talk to your confidant, the person I mentioned at the start that you should be sharing your difficulties with, about what you can do to try and reduce contact, to try and be more boundaried, and to essentially break away from the toxic relationship. Toxic relationships aren't easy to manage, but if you put some of the strategies that I've spoken about in place today, you will start to find yourself coping better, and the toxicity of the relationship may not take up as much headspace as it has been. If you've enjoyed today's tips, please do hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I will give you plenty more tips on how you can use psychology on a day-to-day basis.